Welcome to our Back to School special. I'm Target 12 consumer investigator Sarah Guernelli, and today we're going to be talking about all things back to school shopping, including how to get the best deals and how advertising plays a role in what your child wants for going back to the classroom. This week we're joined by Rae Caloura, marketing professor at Providence College. So tell me, parents have really already back to school shopping, and I think we talked about this last year. People are getting earlier and earlier when they're hitting the stores.
Yes. Part of it is because you have to realize that retail is on a national schedule. And so schools in the South have already started classes. So there's a little bit of that going on. The thing that we saw this year, especially in our area, is that parents are worried about increasing prices because of looming tariffs. Are the tariffs coming? Are they not coming? And so back to school spending spiked in July, and Amazon helped that a lot with their Prime sale. And then Walmart came in with their matching sales, and Target came in with their Target Circle sales. So there was a huge bump in July that we're not used to seeing, but it will continue through August and September.
When people are hitting the stores, how much are they expected to spend this year? If we're already worrying about prices going up, I'm sure people are really thinking of, oh man, how much is this going to hit my wallet? I've got a few kids at home.
Exactly. It depends upon what resource you're looking at. Deloitte is forecasting about $570 per child.
Whoa.
I know.
That is a lot of money.
It is. Whereas the NRF is a lot lower and coming in closer to 300. Now, they both have different survey methodologies. Deloitte talked to fewer households and parents than NRF, but they're both incredibly reputable sources.
And when you're thinking about $500 versus $300, there's a major difference there. But what are people spending their money on most?
Big ticket things. Clothing is a big one, and it's actually the category of back to school spending that got bumped up this year among households. So households had to prioritize, and they're looking at, okay, my child needs clothing, my child needs accessories, my child needs tech. So how do I prioritize that? And they bumped it up to clothing. And so you'll see a slight increase in clothing spending, and then everything else, it's coming from all those other categories.
Why clothing this year compared to last if it's up?
It's probably because overall it's the least expensive, and it's a value category. Parents are able to justify spending on clothing because my child is going to wear it, you know, and depending upon how old your child is, your child may not outgrow that clothing next year. But tech can get outdated pretty quickly. Accessories can come and go through fads. So clothing is an area where parents are looking to say, okay, this is where I'm going to put my money.
When we're talking about tech, are people still even buying calculators these days? Is that where some of the money's going?
It depends, you know. That's more towards your high school and actually college spending. Some students actually do need graphing calculators, but many of the K through 12 schools, and hopefully not kindergarten, but your elementary school children, many schools already have Chromebooks for their students. So unless you need something specific for your child at home, you can say, hey, here's the family computer. And they've got the tech that they need at home, at school. College is a different story. If you have a child that's going off to college, you have no choice but to make sure that they have the right technology.
Right. I mean, I think back to when I was probably in high school and I had to buy the T9 calculator. It was like $300 then. I looked on eBay recently, and you can still sell those online for over $100.
Yeah, I know our finance students often have graphing calculators. So it depends on the instructor. It depends upon what their policy for technology is. Graphing calculators are a little bit lower tech, so there's less diversion on. What I'm skirting around is it's a lot harder to cheat on a graphing calculator
Definitely.
than it is if you open up your laptop.
I didn't try to do
And
that.
I'm sure you did not.
Well, we're thinking of college students going back to school. There's a lot that goes into it. You
Yes.
need sheets, you need bins,
Yes.
you need your shower
Yes,
caddies.
exactly.
What is spending like for those households?
That is much higher. So it can run into like the $1,200 range, and I think Deloitte had it close to $1,300 for a college age student, because again, those students are looking at, especially more the female oriented students, are looking at almost like Pinterest boards and what's their
Want the nice decor.
Exactly. So you're moving your student in, and they've picked out a color scheme for their room that hopefully coordinates with their roommate. And so that's much higher spending, but it's much higher in the first year.
So the National Retail Federation said that families are really trying to save and cut down on their spending. What are some ways that they can do that?
Basically taking advantage of the sales, which is what bumped a lot of the spending in July. And Prime Day wasn't a day, it was days. And it surpassed any sort of spending records. I think I read like $61 billion was spent over Prime Days.
Wow.
And that's every category. And so parents took advantage of that, and then they looked locally. So what we're also seeing is Gen Z likes, and so does Gen Alpha, likes to shop in stores. So they get their inspiration online, and they like to shop in stores. So that's getting parents into the Targets and the Walmarts of the world. And so you're looking for value, you're looking for sales, you're looking for brands that you know will last. So if you're going to buy a brand name, you want it to be a brand name that you can trust. So you see a little bit of nostalgia coming back in, like Jansport is advertising again, LL Bean advertises. And you also want to think about private label brands. You know, is there a way to buy things that are not name brand? They're store brand, they're the private label that are just as good. And that's where much of your savings and value comes in. And shoppers are looking for sales. So they took advantage of all the Prime Day stuff. Now they're waiting for the next level of sales to come.
Are people already, I know you had mentioned people were starting to shop early because they were thinking of tariffs, but are tariffs already impacting the retail space right now when it comes to back to school shopping?
A little bit. What we've been reading is that many of the stores, in anticipation of tariffs, pre-ordered merchandise. So they have supplies, and their prices are probably inching up a little bit because, again, they're anticipating tariffs were supposed to kick in the other day. There's been another 90-day reprieve on tariffs, and most of our goods, if not the majority of the goods that we all buy, will eventually be subject to tariffs. There's very little that's made in the United States. So eventually retailers have to think about those things, and they'll start to pass that on. And they're likely to do it slowly because consumers are going to be really aware of a huge price jump. So for now, the way it's impacting sales is consumers are just anxious, you know, and so they're kind of caught in a, should I buy now? Should I wait? Buy now.
Great. All right. Well, I do want to note that it is August 13th that we are filming this. So in relation to tariffs, just so we know the time frame.
Exactly.
When we come back, we're going to dive deep into how you can get some good deals. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Well, we know that families are planning to spend hundreds of dollars in back-to-school shopping, so we're coming up with some tips for families to save. Rae, how can families budget for school shopping?
It's hard to budget. If you haven't already started budgeting, just spend what you can. And again, try and prioritize what is the most important thing for your child. Is it the actual school supplies? Is it clothing because they've had a growth spurt? Is it some sort of technology so that they can succeed in their studies? Prioritize what you need and start looking for the lowest price for a value brand, whether that's a name brand or a store brand.
And where are people looking to shop? Do you recommend that they can hit up multiple stores to really get the best deal?
Exactly. They'll see that their children are leaning into social media, and that's sort of how their children find out about different brands and where those brands are available, and sort of do their comparison shopping. And their children are using AI to help them find deals. Plain old Google search will help you put in what it is that you're looking for, hit the shopping function, and it starts to tell you who has what at different prices. And then you can start to go to those particular sites and look and see, okay, is this really what I'm looking for? Let me now start to look, for example, if it's technology, what is it at Best Buy? What is it at Walmart? Does Target carry it? Maybe Staples even carries it. What is Amazon selling it for?
I used to, when I was in college and had to pay for my books, I would come up with a spreadsheet and I would go to every single website, put the number down of how much each book costs, and then compare them and then buy the cheapest one.
Exactly.
And I saved a lot of money doing that. A broke college kid, she needs every penny.
What's great in college now is many colleges will incorporate the cost of the books into the tuition. So many students don't have to think about that expense anymore, or they'll incorporate a semester rental for the student, who then, if they choose to buy it at the end of the semester, can. So that's something that parents don't really have to think about budgeting, because that was one of those costs that you were like, wait, how much is a book?
$200 for a science book I'm never going to read again?
Exactly. But for other things, they're looking for, if it is a college student, you're looking for a mini fridge for the dorm. Put it in, see what comes up. Sometimes even used will work.
How is AI helping consumers in general, not with just back to school shopping, but it's I feel like helping people bring down the cost of what they want to buy by targeting the specific number points?
It can. Take AI with a grain of salt, okay? AI is largely based on information that gathering from each of us, and it starts to refine that. And so eventually it will get really good at being accurate. But if you put in, where can I find such and such, and AI spits out a couple of retailers and gives you some prices, go and check them for yourself.
Are there any retailers that come to mind that you think, oh, they give great coupons, discounts, keep an eye out for those?
Offhand, no. Although interesting couponing is coming back. I haven't seen it yet, but I hear it's coming back. It's just typically, if one retailer puts on a sale, the others start to match the sale, period. Maybe not for the same item, but they will have sales. So you've got to sort of do your due diligence. What does Walmart have available right now? What is Target? And keep in mind, Walmart is the everyday low pricing, and so their prices are going to stay static throughout the rest of August into September, maybe even October. Target will start to have their weekly sales. So they do what we call high-low, regular price, sale price. Don't forget about places like Best Buy and Staples that also offer tech, especially if you're looking for tech.
When we're thinking of people who are of the younger generation, Gen Z, we know they love to shop at thrift stores. How much can that really save parents? Taking your kid to go thrifting, having a fun time, and then you're saving some money.
It can save you so much money. I don't have an exact figure, but take advantage of it. Gen Z likes thrifting. Gen Alpha likes thrifting. Interestingly enough, about over 80% of parents say that they wouldn't mind purchasing used clothing or gear for their child. However, only 30% actually do.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a huge way to save some money and to get value. There are so many social media sites that are like, come thrifting with me, and they show you these amazing finds. Are you destined to get an amazing find? Maybe not, but you never know what hidden gem is there.
I went thrifting actually over the weekend. I had got a huge bag filled with work dresses, all $7 each, a pair of leggings that are very expensive, $5. You can really save.
Exactly. And don't write off places like Costco. Interestingly enough,
People love shopping at Costco.
Costco is yes. And so Costco and Lululemon are in a little war right now because Costco has what they are calling, well, everybody else is calling Lululemon dupes, and Lululemon's not too happy about that. But again, if your child doesn't really know the difference, it can save you some money.
Let's talk about dupes.
Yeah.
For people who might not know, what is a dupe and how can it really help you?
Okay, so dupes are duplicate items, and so they are knockoffs, if you will, of brand name items. There's a social media influencer, I believe her name is Liz Fenwicky, and she highlights Dollar Tree and Amazon, and she will talk about the latest dupes she found, like I think is it the Sunbum Rio de Janeiro lotions
Pretty
and products.
pricey.
Pretty pricey, but there is a dupe for it. So think of it as a private label available at Dollar Tree. There's a Touchland antibacterial dupe. You know, and again, you might want to look at the product ingredients and stuff like that, but it's a huge way to save money.
There are also options to save money. A lot of school districts are offering a service where you can get all of your school supplies in a bundle through a company.
Yes.
What do you think of those? Are people saving money with those, or is it just a convenience?
It's more likely a convenience, although you have to think that if an entire school district is doing it, they're getting a volume discount. And so that discount should be shared among all of the parents who are purchasing those materials.
Oh, so you get a little bit more bang for your buck because more people are buying them.
Yes. If you're going off of the straight list, though, like Staples, even Targets have teachers' lists. And so you go in and your teacher's list from whatever school district is nearby is oftentimes there, and you can shop off the list. And the teacher has listed off the things that you're going to need throughout the academic year. I would go through that and say, okay, can we figure out what are the things my child must have? And then what are the things, maybe we can wait until a couple of weeks into school to see, are these just nice to have? And maybe we can use a substitute or not buy it at all.
Or maybe think of buying in bulk too.
Exactly.
Can you get your teacher a ton of hand wipes or Kleenex that they might need?
Exactly. And many teachers do that. So on the list might be 6 boxes of tissue. And it's not that they expect your child to go through 6 boxes of tissue, but they expect their classroom to, you know, when you have 20 kids in a classroom and flu season comes along or just whatever, they're going to go through this. Exactly. And they're much nicer than the ones that the school department supply.
Oh, you know how many red noses I got in school?
Yes.
All right, so when we come back, we're going to talk about how advertising really impacts what your child buys. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We know social media and advertising really can influence what people buy. How does that play a role in what kids want? How do advertisers really narrow their search to specific ages and children?
So if you're talking traditional advertising, it's based on the programming that the ads are embedded in. So for example, on the Disney Channel, everything would be that age group appropriate. If you're talking more traditional media like Channel 12 News, WPRI, it's actually going to be adjacent to the specific show. And so whenever you have age-appropriate programming for children, that's when the ads are supposed to run.
Are there any guidelines or parameters that advertisers should follow by when it comes to advertising for children?
Absolutely. So children is usually considered under age 13. And so advertisers are expected and pretty much somewhat required, although I don't know the legalities of it per se, but to advertise in a truthful manner, to advertise age-appropriate products to them. There's been some criticism of ads that run during an animated show. And so if you run an animated ad within an animated show, does the child understand that one's an ad? Like if you're advertising during Paw Patrol, okay? So have a real life ad so that the child knows that there's now a difference between what they're watching and this is not part of Paw Patrol. This is now something different. And then when it comes to online ads, which obviously we see more and more of, there's what's known as the Children's Online Privacy and Protection Act, which says that you can advertise, and again, age appropriate. However, if in the course of your ad you somehow request a child to sign up for more information or, to get something from this ad, if they're under 13, they need their parents' permission to provide any sort of information, a name, a date of birth, an address, anything.
How does this advertisement influence what kids want to buy and what become trendy, especially with social media too? Anything can essentially be advertised now.
Exactly. Most of the trends come from social media, and then traditional advertisers just sort of pick up on it. And so Gen Z and Gen Alpha is like the oldest, is like maybe around 14. And so they're watching social media and they're on their TikTok and they're looking at their For You page, and there are some influencers. And so influencers go sort of from the macro level of like a Taylor Swift, and then you've got like more micro, smaller influencers, and then you've kind of got some that are in between, like the Addison Rays or the Sydney Sweeneys, or sort of in between, and then you've got these micros that nobody really knows, but they have this little following, and so they're sometimes are collaborating with brands. Brands will see them and say, oh, you've got a following among an age group that we think we want to target. Here's our product. We'd like you to talk about it. And so they get compensated for it. And they're supposed to say it's sponsored. And so I don't know how often that's monitored. During sort of the whole blogging era, people had to announce we might get compensated for the things that we post and you buy on through this particular blog. With social media, it's a little bit fuzzier.
I mean, everyone's always talking about you go into Ulta, Sephora now, and it used to be 20 and up, maybe I would say, maybe a little bit younger, but now it's really
that's influencers.
There's a lot of young kids. What advice do you have for parents managing their budget when it comes to their kids looking at social media and being influenced? Because it can get pricey.
It can get pricey. I think parents have to present it in a way that says, these people are being encouraged and compensated. This is almost like a job for them. And so this is their job. Their job is to get you into the store to purchase these items. And they may not have your best interest in mind. And so let's look at this and let's do our own independent research and see if this is appropriate for you.
It's a tough balance when you want to give your kid everything, like every parent does. Might not be able to afford it, and then you're seeing all of these influencers telling your kid, you want to be pretty, you've got to wear this. You want to be really smart, you need this.
Exactly.
Makes it really tough.
It does. And you might want to steer your child away from those influencers and go to like more generic sites that are a little bit more open-minded, don't have any sponsors, But there are certain ones that they do follow just because it's kind of the cool thing.
Well, thank you so much. We're out of time.
You're so very welcome.
So happy to have you here. Thank you
Glad
so
to be
much
here.
for watching. Have a good night.